Afternoon, all. Bright and early for a new week. I'm Jack Chew. This is Chewing It Over, and we come here weekdays daily to discuss all things hot in MSK, in education, in healthcare in general, sometimes current affairs. Always try and be interesting, and today's a great show for that. We've occasionally done these Marketing Mondays. I think we got to a bit of a frequency on it, but then I lost track of which Monday it was. And so instead of our friend, I've called him in one of the social media posts this morning, our international man of marketing, which I quite liked. He's joining us today to talk about ClickFunnels. He came up with a blog that he posted, I think it was over the weekend or on Friday, discussing ClickFunnels. Now, you might wonder, what on earth are those? But you will recognize them when we talk about them, and we'll put some pictures up as examples, because you might not have known you've been moved down a ClickFunnel, but you've certainly been served them on social media and potentially even succumbed to them occasionally. And so Michael came up with the blog. I'm hopefully able to put this up on both on screen, and I've put it into the comments. Depending on which platform you're watching this, depends on whether or not that's clickable. However, in the comments section on a few places, that should be clickable. Have a look on hmdg.co.uk. It's their latest blog on there. It was a really interesting post about why he feels and makes a great case for why there are certainly something to steer clear of in our industry. So without further ado, hopefully, as ever, the technology is behaving itself. Hopefully you can hear me okay, and my signal is relatively stable. I've got plan A, B, and C on signal front here. But hopefully, if it behaves itself, I can slide in Michael Schumacher. How are you doing?
You got me. I was just thinking, please don't do it while I'm yawning. You got me.
I get it.
Mid-yawn.
Yeah, well, usually he's in there in the lobby. I can see him. You guys can't, and I'm just waiting because he's picking his nose, scratching his face, yawning. Welcome.
Thank you, Jack.
Now, what do you reckon? Firstly, most important question is, what do you think of the International Man of Marketing title?
I kind of like it.
It's one of the nicer things I've called you.
It is one of the nicer things. It'll do. It'll do.
Now, a title you don't like is ClickFunnel.
ClickFunnels. How much can I swear today? Is this appropriate?
Yeah, occasionally it slips out. So I think this would be a moment in which, if you can't temper yourself enough, then it's fine. The odd word. I haven't got my bleep machine, but yeah. What's the beef, mate? You can start off from there.
So if you're not familiar with ClickFunnels are, there's ads that say, free book or free something, and you leave your details now, normally worth $2.99, now for free for just 3 minutes, and you have to leave your details, and then before you know it, you've got another 100 emails pushing you into something else, and then another 100 emails, and eventually they want you to buy a course for about £10 million. Now you see a lot of this out there, normally around things like diet pills. You can tell I can't use them. Don't fall for that stuff, but normally around diet pills or some kind of weird, funky, I don't know, woo-woo that people want to sell, and they work, right? I don't want to say that funnels do not work. They do. And the psychology behind them is great. It's that scarcity model. It's, we have something, you need to get this now. We are a chiropractor. We can fix your back, but we can only see 10 patients this month. So at this incredible, unique price. So get your voucher, and then you get the voucher, and then before you know it, you've got another email and a text, and you're just constantly being chased. And they've been around for a long time now. I think in all forms of business. In the corporate world, it's sort of been dismissed about a bit. You don't see any proper company out there using them. And if you're a proper company, then shame on you. But you don't see any serious businesses out there doing that kind of thing. It's different to, hey, download this article because it's interesting, and then we'll follow you up with something else. That's okay. It's the excessive claims. It's the push into buying, the push into, I think everyone's seen it, particularly in the therapy market, because the therapy market seems about, I'd say, a couple of years, 3 years behind everybody else when it comes to marketing. And ClickFunnels are just all over the place. I probably shouldn't mention names, but there are two types of ClickFunnels, or two people doing ClickFunnels in this market. They're the ones that are trying to sell clinics something. So get £20,000 of new patient revenue in just 2 weeks through this simple patented formula. download this book or download this template. So you get lots of people trying to sell clinics their services, and more often than not, they're normally funnels themselves. So it's like, if you do this, you can get patients. But then I'm seeing more and more clinics now doing it, and every day, I'm signed up. I make sure, as someone that does marketing in the therapy industry, I make sure that I see them. And I would say 3 to 4 times a day they come up. And I sent you over one earlier that came up first thing this morning.
Yeah, we'll definitely pull that up.
Get these things through, and they're just not. I do encourage anyone to read the article, or everyone to read the article, because I went a bit Adam Meekins on it. I think just went
aggro.
for it.
You were aggro, yeah.
Proper. I was so aggro about it, because there are these poor physios. I say poor physios, but these physios, they normally prey on those that aren't generating business. They prey on the ones that are really struggling. And I hate that, because they're going after those physios, pushing them into doing things that any young physio shouldn't be doing. There's one in I won't say where, but there's one that keeps coming up, and I keep seeing this thing, and it's get a patient appointment, £29. We've created this unique method of physiotherapy. Don't say that stuff. That is not where physiotherapy is headed. It's not where physiotherapy should be headed. It's a healthcare business. You should be pushing your expertise. You shouldn't be giving discounts. You guys have a hard enough time already charging for the work that you do. Don't undercut your own services. Don't hurt everybody else. Don't do things the right way. And I do appreciate, I don't want to be too critical. Well, I do, but I don't want to criticize individuals too much, because I get that times are tough. I understand that, but just think about what you're doing and how that relates to your brand, how that relates to your longevity, and also the kind of patient that you get through. Right. This is the other thing. Some of the ones, it's the old Groupon thing, right? You come in for a spin class for only £6. They never come back again, because they're always searching for the cheapest offer. Whether it's you or another clinic, all the clinics we work with, they want people who are invested both financially in their treatment and also in terms of their time. You want patients who are really serious, and these kinds of funnels don't lead to that. So then you're continually offering more fantastical claims and lower offers just to keep getting people through into the funnel. I could rant about this all day long.
I'm going to say, and I pretty much would love you to. I think one thing that, because your analysis on this blog and certainly beyond it in this show is fairly thorough. There's a few different issues with it, but one of the things that really speaks to a lot of stuff that we've spoken about before privately, but also on this show with you and elsewhere, is just the fact that it's clearly bullshit, in a sense that there isn't the scarcity being suggested. So there's layers of deception, and that's where in healthcare it just seems fascinating that people would even err on that. Now you've got this sort of business come marketing coach type stuff where they're going into professionals, so they're not necessarily preying on the public as much as some are. Where you've got that this is the solution to back pain, persistent back pain. Download this ebook, your problems will be solved type thing. There's another layer of unethical behavior there. But when it comes to the interprofessional piece, the bullshit is in the fact that it's not necessarily in a situation where that price is the RRP is inflated, for one. Usually, let's just put that in play. You can't infer the cost of something unless it's ever been sold at any rational volume, right? And that's the thing that's sort of been called out. Even the Advertising Standards Agency last year had to declare that as being inflating RRP was made something that had to be was null and void even across supermarkets and stuff, right? So in our game, it's ridiculous. If you're suggesting an ebook, normally £500, but for you today, free. It's like, when did it ever sell at £500? And it can't be your mum that bought it, right? It's like these are things that are relevant. But what was interesting about your article is these layers with regards to the interprofessional piece. So I want to go there. You use Groupon as an example. Because I'm a bit conflicted on this, because I'm not convinced there is a true drag to the bottom on this. It's like a serious patient that wants a serious person isn't necessarily on Groupon. So I'm a bit conflicted as to, I don't like it happening, but I also don't think it necessarily has this massive market drag effect. Do you disagree?
No, I totally disagree, because it's not that they're going on Groupon. These ads are going out at scale onto socials, and your patients are on socials. Everybody else's patients are on socials. So let's take where you are. If you've got 10, 15 clinics all pushing ridiculous claims about how I can solve back pain in 3 easy steps using this newfangled technology, the CBD laser one was a good one that I saw. You rubbed CBD. It was something along the lines of, you need some KT tape or some rock tape. Shouldn't mean whatever tape, not necessarily rock tape. Put CBD oil on it. You then apply it to the affected area, and then you laser it. I mean, God knows what that's all about. But so getting back to it, you want to see your patients.
Right.
All these people making ridiculous claims about, what they can fix and what they can do at these ridiculously low prices. Now that is going to have that drag effect on you getting patients through. It's no different actually to, I mentioned Bob and his Theragun. The personal trainer who did a PT course over a weekend, got himself a Theragun, is now claiming to cure manner of ailments. Those people do take clients and patients away from proper physiotherapists, particularly when the noise is out there. And then secondly, you've got an issue with pricing then. If you're charging £65 and everybody else is charging 20 quid an initial appointment, your pricing suddenly looks ridiculously high. And that has an effect as well. And then in general, it just brings down the entire world of physio to a whole, down to the bottom. It shouldn't be. You should be professional. You should be seen as having worked your asses off to get your qualifications, spent, not just even the qualifications, spent 20 years practicing and gaining knowledge. And the one thing about physios is, the reason that Therapy Live is such a brilliant thing that we did is because people want to continue learning. It's continual learning and looking at new evidence. And that's what physio should be about, not the nonsense that you see going out there, and you need to communicate that to the public properly.
Yeah, I think that that's what's often the case, where it's sort of laced with, there's always gimmicks or a suggestion of a magic cure, right? These things, these ClickFunnels aren't typically baiting people into a really thorough assessment, right? It's making a specific claim about the method that's going to fix someone, and that's again overblown on a clinical level. So again, the layers of unethical behavior is all over it. I'm just going to pull some comments in here. Katie's agreeing that they're awful. We're going to pull some examples up. I keep forgetting. We're going to do some examples in a second. Alistair said the article was a good old rant and that he loved it. So there's he's vouching for that. Fiona also agreeing, great blog. I want to just put this question to you, Michael, just in case there's any misconstrued nature there, but also Bernadette, if you can unpack this a little bit. She said she's worried what you mean by wrong sort of patient.
Yeah, so you have to understand that I come from a very much a marketing place. So when I work with clinics, and when we work with clinics as a company, we want to make sure that marketing spend generates revenue. That doesn't mean you're unethical, which is why we don't use funnels, but we want to match up the clinic with the type of patient that they're after. So for example, the majority of clinics, or a lot of the clinics that we work with, are looking for a certain, I guess, let's say a certain sector of patients. It could be post-op therapy. It could be someone who has long-term acute issues or back pain. I don't want to get into this too much, but what they don't want is the sports massage. They don't want the person who just comes in because they got a little ache and they'll never see them again. They want to practice physiotherapy on people and help people in the long term with acute issues. So I was probably wrong saying the wrong sort of patient. Let's put it to the patient who is only looking for a short-term cheap solution that they think is going to fix them quickly. And I think that's what I mean by the wrong type of patient. The person that buys on the service being incredibly cheap, and they think that they can get fixed by using this newfangled technology, as opposed to the patient who realizes that there's investment in time to their rehab.
That makes sense. I mean, it's the wrong type of patient for with the goals of what the campaign was actually for. So there might be another campaign of which it is actually trying to get someone that's just sore of a weekend and wants a rub. That's a different type of campaign, looking for a different type of patient. So
Exactly.
It's more the specifics of the context of it. Bernadette's then followed up and said that she feels physios. Oh, is it showing? No, it's not behaving.
Physio shouldn't be offering non-evidence-based.
Physio shouldn't be offering non-evidence-based treatments in the first place, regardless of price.
But I think there's the point to be made, though, that the price and funnels tend to push people into making non-evidence-based claims, because it becomes all about the sell. It's all about getting the patient in. And what's the easiest way to get someone in? It's offering that silver bullet. So it's very rare that I have seen a funnel that doesn't include something that is just not accurate. And I think that's one of the problems. But yeah, absolutely right. They shouldn't be offering non-evidence-based treatments.
I mean, the gimmicky aspect of it just seems fascinating, and that's occurred across the board. But especially when that's applied through the clinical stuff, it's just clearly that there's a desperate. I wonder how many clinicians and clinic owners have encountered click funneling, or do you think that they've been guided that way? Do you think they've been misled in that direction?
I think they've been guided that way. The psychology is absolutely spot on. Russell Brunson, he makes millions of pounds because they work. If I want to go on a diet, I don't want someone to tell me it's going to take hard work, 6 months of slog, not eating burgers and working out every day. I want someone that says, drink this detox green tea that can make you slim in just 3 cups of tea. That's what you want. And people buy into that. It's just human nature to go with the kind of fabulous claims. And so it works. It does work. I don't want to say it doesn't work, but I don't think it works in the long term. There's lots of other reasons you shouldn't do it. But in terms of how they find out about them, I think a lot of it is, and if you want, you can put up this this thing that I saw this morning.
I keep forgetting. Let's do it. Right.
Pick this thing up.
Here we go. Right. So hopefully you guys can see this. This is something that Michael you were served this on Insta this morning?
On Instagram, and I see this great number, and I'm thinking that's a bloody fantastic number. I'm really intrigued what the AAA method is. But then I just quickly did some maths. $276,000, roughly £250,000 over 45 days. That would work out at around 74, I think, ish new patients every single day. That is some campaign. That is some incredibly fantastic campaign. So let's see what they say.
Oops, I've just deleted one of them.
Have you?
Yeah, press the wrong button. I've just managed to delete it. This was the third image, sorry.
We'll ignore the other pages because obviously they're not important. We just want page 3, 7, and 9. There's some psychology behind that and some reasoning why they do that, by the way. So, I mean, I don't even want to go into it, but you all recognize this kind of thing. So you download it, you get this thing that leaves you wanting a little bit more and learning more because you're desperate. You want more patients through the door, and you think this sounds fantastic. Who's going to turn down £250,000 worth of yeah, that James, yes, happens all the time. Who's going to turn this down? And ultimately, the aim is to get you to buy £10,000 worth of product and then leave you nowhere. And
it's also capturing details. I think that's one of the things is it's a basic lead gen at the start, isn't it? That you've got to enter something. Eventually, it's then the reason that it's described as a funnel is because it's sort of meaning that you're going to get a broad capture that you at least get leads on, and then it actually channels down into something that then you can sell high ticket items to. Is that right?
So there's a difference. So it's really difficult to talk about, or you have to distinguish between funnels, click funnels, marketing funnels, sales funnels. I'll give you an example. We're running an ad at the moment that says we've got this wonderful thing, this product. If you like it, come and have a chat with us. You book in a call. We have a call with you to see if we can help you. If you don't buy, then sure, you go into some level of funnel because you get signed up to the newsletter or whatever it might be. We don't actually do that, by the way, but we could do that. Or maybe one thing we're doing at the moment is if you come to the page and you come off the page without booking or whatever, you then get remarketed with a piece of information. That's marketing. Some people hate it. Still, that's okay. But what we're not doing is making a fantastical claim of we can do this and then pushing you into a deceptive service that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you also sent me over the terms and conditions. What was it about this that tickled you?
Well, when you start making claims, when you're not making claims, basically it's saying don't expect any results, isn't it? And don't blame us when you've spent loads of money because it's
75 new patients a day. £75.
Exactly. So I quite like the disclaimers, and you have to. Facebook is actually very clear on if you're making these sorts of claims, you have to put a disclaimer in to say we probably can't do this for you, but it's down to you. I like how they blamed you as well. It comes down to your experience and your work.
Suddenly, yeah, we're going to promise the world, but it's all on you.
Yeah,
sounds familiar. Obi said yes, it's about continuous learning in all areas of business. Good point. We've also then got Andy Hosgood. I swear he's just trolling us with some of these comments. Are you saying that not everything can be fixed with a Theragun? I think he'd also like to sell some Theraguns through a funnel. That's what he's looking for.
Yes.
Cheers, Andy.
I just the reason that I'm really het up about it and angry about it is that I don't like seeing people taken advantage of. I don't like that you mentioned the deceptive element earlier. It is all about being deceptive. You know, you are promising things, you're making claims, and you know, it bothers me on two fronts. One is selling to therapists and preying on people that you know are struggling. Because let's be honest here, and I said this in the article, if I were a physiotherapist, I would look at all of the practices I really admire. And you know, Andy's not doing funnels. Andy's got a massively successful practice. He's not doing funnels. In fact, with Elevate, my business, he's helping businesses grow. There's no funnel in there. It's about let's get your metrics right. Let's make sure that your business is operating in a proper way. Let's make the patient journey sure the patient journeys are right. You know, Fiona's a really good example. You know, she's one of our.
Let's have a look at Fiona's comment here. Lack of business knowledge and understanding is driving practices to think this type of marketing, mentoring, and gurus. They're bombarded with those messages through carefully targeted marketing, and they're incorrectly thinking that new patients are marketing gold. That's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because of course, you're not going to develop that returning and longevity of relationship through this.
You're not. And Fiona's practice is a really good example. She's got a really successful clinic. There's been no funnels. It's just been hard work. It's about being visible, making sure that you provide a decent service. And then, of course, there's visibility. You've got to do things the right way. But that doesn't mean you have to kind of do everything that is against what you're really trying to do in the first place, which is help people, because you're not helping people by tricking them into buying things from you.
Now, Jeanette's just reminded me, with that comment, she's also reminded me of one of her earlier comments, which is good because we'll put our words back in our mouths. We sometimes slip our tongue, don't we? Me and you typically talk of therapists, but sometimes we say physios for shorthand, but she's just corrected us there. Of course, various different flavors of MSK therapists, of which we've got a lot of time for.
I actually, when it comes to graduate sports therapists, I don't see that much terrible stuff coming out of them, but at least there's some level of learning there. What I have a big problem is with the people that have absolutely no learning. It's like me. I mean, I can talk like a physio nowadays after doing all this stuff for so long. But me getting a plinth and a Theragun and saying I can rehabilitate you, that's just not acceptable. It's just not. Now, if I was a graduate and I got qualified, at least there's some semblance of knowledge there. And what bothers me are the PTs that are, and for the Americans, the personal trainers, the personal trainers that are out there making all sorts of claims about back pain and curing this and curing the other, and that's a problem.
On an interprofessional level, Joe's got a good point here. She's saying that it really annoys her when there's a webinar where you can learn something and you give up your time, and actually it's just a tiny bit of content with a lot of sales within it, and then actually it's then downstream of that the actual content, if it ever comes, it's then paid for.
Yeah, and I think that's you know, I don't want to mention anyone, but if you look at James Morgan's comment, that's a really prime example of that. I'm going to release a book, and I'm going to put it onto Amazon as a book that you can buy, and basically it's just an upsell to go onto a course. And you go on that course and you buy, I think that product is like £6,000 or £12,000. And I know 2 therapists that have gone on a course of some sort that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks, or last week actually, who have spent, I think one was 6,000, one was 12,000. I think Andy actually knows one that spent a few quid as well. And they got nothing out of it other than, well, nothing. There's just nothing there. And it's a real shame that people are falling for it, but they do fall for it. If I were to, I could go quite easily and run a funnel. I could go and do that, and I would probably have 15 new clinics as customers today. But that just isn't what we do, and it's not how I want to interact with clinics and with clients. I want to be honest with them.
There's something so superficial about it. I think one of the things as well that I've noticed across various different hats that I wear is that you've got a lot of legitimate things that can also have tangential benefit that aren't directly attributed to the content. So it could be that there's a decent business book or a webinar or a TED talk or whatever that's got value, right? It's not gimmicky, it's not crap. But sometimes, much like we know in therapy, when we're doing something with someone to someone, you've got to recognize that there's all sorts of the variables at play that might have led to the outcome. And sometimes having the best business book you've ever read, it may well have been that the act of taking the time to apply that knowledge to your business is something that is as potent as what's in it itself. It's maybe this they say the expression goes that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Sometimes I think people miss that, is that was one of 10 ways in which you could have made progress. And often that being thoughtful, working on your business, taking the time out to actually think carefully about that, not getting stuck in every little nitty-gritty thing clinically, that makes a massive difference too. And I think that that's one of the variables that comes in when sometimes these things get legitimate testimonials, is that 1 in 10 people that go through this process, sometimes by just taking the time out, they do get some, not just superficial results, but it actually does change the game for them, because it's the first thing that they've actually taken the time for, and they invested a lot of money in it.
So the results angle on the testimonials is an interesting one. When we were talking about this internally, one of the girls, Beck, she was making the point that most of the testimonials are, not most, quite often they're not real testimonials.
Bogus,
quite often they're paid for. Get half your money back for the course or whatever. And you make a good point that sometimes just by doing something like, for example, emailing your database, that makes a massive difference. So someone says to you, okay, pay us all this money. Let's start with, or pay us £1,000. Let's start with emailing your database. And suddenly you get 20 new patients. You're like, this is incredible. This is unique. I cannot believe it. I just imagine what you can do if I just pay him another £10,000. So you pay the next £10,000, and then now you don't get the results that you initially did. It's essentially a con. The entire thing's a con, and the proof is in the pudding. Go and find the top clinics, the best clinics in the country. They will not be using funnels. They just simply won't be. They are certainly not. I don't want to call it. I'm sure someone out there is. I'll be fair. I'm sure there's someone out there that is using funnels and it seems to work with them. But certainly these fantastical type offer funnels, people aren't using them. And there are, I said something to a person just before I got on here. I don't know if he's listening, but we were talking about marketing, and he was talking about all these things that marketing agencies have told him to do. Marketing needn't be complex. It needs to be simple. What are the key foundations that you need to do? And it's 3 or 4. It's no different to rehab. It's no different to personal training. If I want to get thinner and fitter, lift, push, pull, press, it's that simple. Eat less pies. Now, getting me standing on a medicine ball, holding weights in different areas, swinging things around, all of that stuff, it looks complex and it sounds complex and you can charge for it, but it's nonsense. And the same goes with therapy, right? I don't imagine you've got people doing crazy stuff I know you don't, crazy stuff when they come into your clinic. It's what are the basics? Let's diagnose and let's put a plan together. And
well, James Morgan's noticed that correlation as well. Obviously, I was describing the other extraneous variables that can influence results, and he was recognizing the biopsychosocial approach to marketing and to therapy. It's very similar. We're running out of time, mate, I'm afraid. But one of the things I wanted to flag is that we've spoken before about the amount of wastage that occurs or therapists being misled. And I've also been really honest on both on this show, and also me and Rob have got this Therapy Business Matters show that we've been doing where we're just trying to be honest about the mistakes we've made. And one of the things that's come up there is that definitely we're all succumb to that, and because we're busy and we've got various different, especially the amount of hats I wear, side projects and stuff, there's times where I've just been to some degree lazy, misled, and therefore thought, sod it, I'll throw some money at it because at least that buys me some time. Someone else is going to concentrate on that, and that clumsiness is something I've later gone on to regret. And so please, when you're listening to this, if you've got any questions, get in touch with us and get in touch with Michael, hmdg.co.uk. But also, if you haven't already, then have a little read of this blog and all the surrounding ones. It's in the comment section across the various platforms, but also if you go to the website, you should find it.
It's on articles. But yeah, I think that's just finally, that is an important one, which is people do get, you were that perfect example. I think Rob as well. I think you don't have the time, you want someone else to take over, and then you're just spending the money unnecessarily. So always make it simple. If people want to have a chat with me, I'm not going to sell them anything if they don't want it. I'm always happy to have a chinwag with people and talk through issues.
Sure, nice one. Right, thanks a lot, mate. We'll speak to you soon, and we'll do another marketing Monday at whatever frequency we're managing to do these. But really appreciate it, and we'll speak soon.
Chat soon.